Hi everybody, my name's Rebecca and welcome back to My Bookish Travels. I am so excited for today's video because it's one that I have fast come to love making for you guys and kind of setting up ahead of time for what I want to discuss. Today is going to be book to movie adaptations. I have two very nostalgic films that I am going to be recommending and three newer ones that you may or may not have heard before. But let's jump into it, and I would love to hear your guys' opinions. Do you agree with my feelings? Do you disagree? Let's talk more there, and let's talk to begin with about the first book to movie, which is going to be Winnie the Pooh. If you guys have not read Winnie the Pooh, I don't know why you haven't. I will just say, I feel like Winnie the Pooh is going to make you feel like a child again, and it's just going to take you to relax and enjoy and feel very happy. And that is what Winnie the Pooh has always done for me. Back in 2011, though, Disney released this version of Winnie the Pooh, and this is the most connected with the actual writing and feeling that A.A. Milne produces in his book. So it's a quieter film. It's very much bring a lot of the traditional stories to life in this film, and it's just very simplistically laid out. So it's not like super loud and rambunctious. Like if you were putting something on for a child late at night and you were like, let's just watch something soothing before you go to bed, this is what I would probably say you'd want to grab. And Zooey Deschanel does all of the music for this, like the lyrics and the singing for it. So beautiful. So beautiful. I have no complaints on this. By the end of it, I'm usually just like, why is it over? Because it's just so well done and it just makes me instantly happy when I watch it. The next one that I want to discuss, I'm going to start with the movie first, more so because I watched the movie before I actually read the book. I know, but it's also because as a young child, I wasn't actually, probably when I first watched this, at an age where I could have read and comprehended the books, and that is The Rescuers. And I just love this movie. It's so well done, and it's more of a original classic with Disney. The artwork is all hand drawn for the animation and coloring that's done. And you also have at the opening, all of the credits take place at the beginning of the movie, which I've always preferred credits, like all of them taking place at the start. Like, then people aren't like skipping out and not actually paying attention to all of the amazing people who produced this. But it has all of the still artwork in the background, and it's just so stunning for the opening credits. I love Bernard. I love Miss Bianca. Orville the albatross. Like, let's be real, he is probably everybody's favorite character in this. And all of the little friends in the bayou that they make, this film makes me think of my childhood. You know how you have like a scent and you smell it or you hear that song and you're just like, childhood. This is probably one of the top movies that make me think of my childhood, and I just love it. It's definitely, I think, the precursor for some of the other characters they create. Like, for example, Medusa definitely gives me pre-Cruella de Vil vibes, but it just is so well done. So well done. So that book to movie adaptation's actually based off of two books. It's based off of the original, the first book in the series, The Rescuers, as well as the second, Miss Bianca. Now, one thing with these books, I will actually tell you straight up that I actually think the movie is much better than the books. There are some very outdated things that are done in these books or said or written. It's just, as I said, it's outdated for that. But the other thing is, I don't feel like a young child would get this. Whereas if I had, like, for example, a 5-year-old watching this, they probably would understand it or at least enjoy it. Whereas this, I feel like they'd need to be a little bit older for it because it just kind of, it's got a lot of stuff that you need to kind of explain or discuss, which is really great. I love books that you can have those open discussions with and kind of, explain things or discuss things as you go through it. But I also feel like it's a little bit more for an older reader than for a young child. At least when I read it, that was the vibe I was getting from it. Overall, though, I definitely still want to read the rest of the books in the series, and I'm not saying I don't recommend the books. I just feel like the production of the movie was so well done and so well thought out. And honestly, who doesn't remember the Rescue Aid Society's theme? Like, RESCUE, Rescue Aid Society, head held high, touch the sky, you mean everything to me. Like, come on. Is it just that's like my childhood with my siblings? Possibly, but I feel like I'm not the only one that was your childhood. So now we move on to the final 3 book to movie adaptations I want to discuss today. And these 3 I'm really happy to discuss because I don't see a lot of people discussing them, but I still remember when I first read these books, like thinking back to it and watching the film for the first one, the first time, like just beautiful. So the first book is Ruby Red, the second book is Sapphire Blue, and the third one is Emerald Green. I'm definitely dating myself right now on the fact that you can see on these covers, it's got the pretty girl in a big, beautiful ball gown. Do you guys remember when that was like all the rage? All of the books had to have like a pretty girl in a ball gown. Didn't matter if she was a warrior or whatever she did. She had to be a pretty girl in a pretty ball gown on the cover of the book. Ruby Red is a time travel novel where there is Gwen's family has a blood gene that travels down through the female heirs for time travel. And then there's also a male line which has Gideon de Villiers, and it's his family line that travels. So this has time travel, it's got mystery, intrigue, romance, typical teenage life and all of the things taking place with villains and happiness and drama and all of the things that I actually really loved in the writing of this book. So I will tell you that I have read these books multiple times. I've read the whole series in paperback, I've read it in hardcover, and I've read it in audiobook. And so the first book in the series got produced as Reubenrot, I believe is how it's pronounced. And this one is probably the truest and most beautiful book to movie adaptation out of the 3. It is like they took the book and they put it into a film and they said, here you go. I had everything that I wanted to take place happened, and there is some slight differences, but with kind of the liberty that they had for it, I didn't have a problem with it. It's almost 2 hours long, and the version that I watched was an English dubbed version, which actually wasn't that bad. It was actually very well done for an English dub, but I don't know. I enjoy watching films in their native language with subtitles, and if I don't know the language, obviously. And I really liked it. I loved the chemistry between the characters, for the romance, for the family, like for the mom and daughter, for the friendship. It all kind of worked, as well as like Charlotte and Gwen, like that type of a situation. Like I just found that the chemistry between all of the different actors was so good. It was brilliant. And then we have the second one, which is, I think it's pronounced Sapphire Blau, and this one they deviate a little bit from the book, a little bit more than the first one, and I think it's also not as long of a film. I really enjoyed it. I still really liked the direction they were going in. I understood the liberties. I'm like, all right, it's not like too far gone, but I still really enjoyed it. Also, we had some characters appearing that I really liked to see, that appear in the second book. And it really gave me so much hope for being able to see the final one. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Don't get me wrong, I didn't hate it, but I didn't absolutely love it either. It kind of fell under that middle ground. There was quite a bit of deviation from the book that took place in this third film, and it just didn't hit up to where I wanted it to be. I also don't want to spoil anyone on anything, so I'm not going to discuss like a crucial thing that I found the deviation that bothered me with it. I'm not one to be really fussy, but there are certain things that it's kind of a hard no for me when it comes to book to movie or book to TV adaptations. And this one kind of touched on that key thing for me. So it kind of makes me dislike it more than like it, because I feel like when it comes to liberties, you have to be really cautious what you do change. There's a reason why authors do what they do, and I think that you need to be respectful of that. And this thing that I don't like, I find is a very big disrespect to the author and their work. So I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I would definitely watch it again. I wish that these films were being released in like North America to be able to purchase or even to watch on a streaming site. I would appreciate that, but at this point in time, I know that they aren't. If you guys haven't watched it, I highly recommend watching the series. I think that it was very well done, and I loved getting to see it being produced in a non-English speaking country for book to movie adaptation, because I don't know, maybe I'm just not paying attention to that, but I feel like book to movie adaptations always end up being an English speaking film for it to be a big well-known thing, and I feel like that is not the case. It doesn't have to be like that. In general, with these three films, some things that I think are really big and positive with it. Number one is the continuity in the story is continued throughout the three films, with regards to the acting, with the characters. They have the same actors for all three films portraying the same characters, so we didn't have any changes that took place. That's probably a big pet peeve of mine, is when they don't there's all of a sudden a change with an actor, and I'm just like, why? Like, just leave it or have them sign contracts so that doesn't happen. And the other really nice thing is that they ended up doing all three films. I think they were released probably within 2 or 3 years of each other, so there wasn't this huge time chunk between them, or they just produced the one and then stopped completely. I really dislike when productions will make the first book in a series and then they don't continue on, or they do but they don't continue on with the main cast, and it's just really hard when that happens. I feel like it takes you out of the story afterwards, because you have gotten used to seeing somebody portraying with how they kind of have the characteristics, and then you have someone else stepping in and they're having to create their own from it, but also carry on theirs. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. That is not what this video is about. But in general, I really like those few specific details that they had for the production of these films. If you guys have not watched them, I definitely recommend giving it a shot. If you have, what did you think? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Be honest. I'd love to have a discussion with you guys. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will see you then. Bye!